There is this young boy was holding 2 apples in his hand. The father said, "Hey, why don't you share one of them with me?" The son quickly took a bite from each apple. So the father said, "You know what? Why? You should learn how to share. That's not nice. You know, you're not going to be able to eat all of them, both of them. Why don't you share one of them with your dad? You know, you should be generous. You should be this and that." And he started like teaching him a kind of lesson about generosity. But the boy with a very soft voice, he said, "Dad, actually, that was not my intention. My intention was to find out which one of the 2 apples is sweeter to give it to you." The dad said, "At that point, I realized there is much I can learn from my child. There is so much I can learn from my own kids." A lot of time we forgot that this, many times Allah talk about children is to make us pay attention to everything related to them. And today I would like to share with you some points, observations that I have about children. Since Allah, alhamdulillah, blessed me with a good number of children, and I've been watching them growing over the years, okay, I can share with you some of my experience. Number 1, persevering. Children do not give up easily. They are goal-oriented. Obstacles are ignored, and they focus on their target and what they want to achieve. You know, tell your kids no to this, he will find another way to talk about it. He will keep insisting to go and to achieve what he or she wants. Don't you agree? You know, it's so interesting how they are so focused on their goals. And when they want something, they try every possible way to achieve that goal. You know, I wish us as adults, we pick that attitude from our kids. I wish us as adults, we're not willing to give up easily our dreams, our goals, just because of the challenges and the obstacles that face us when we try to achieve our goals. You know, every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Dr. Ahmed today when he was talking to you about his experience, it just put in my mind and heart, you know, how important that we focus on our goal. Because if Dr. Ahmed didn't have a goal, he will not be able to go through these obstacles of his life, with these challenges in his life. When you have a goal in your life, you have a meaning for your life. You guys, can you think of a basketball game where there is no goals to score? There is no ring. We just pass the ball to each other. How boring game this is. Can you imagine football game with no goals? Can you imagine soccer with no goals? Hockey with no goals? Very boring game. That's exactly how your life is, a very boring life. You're all willing to give up anything easily. But when you have a goal in mind and you're driven by your goals, you're driven by dreams, your life will be completely different. I do believe one of the secret behind the success of every successful movement, it is because they have clear goals. So many times, not us as individuals, but us as a family, as a community, we don't have even clear goal that we are committed to it. Ask many of us as a community leader today, unfortunately, say, what's your goal in your masjid? What's your goal in your community? You as a Dallas community, what is your big goal that you try to achieve? And what we're trying to achieve as a community in North Texas, for example, you will see most of the time we don't have a very clear vision of what we want. Most of the time we are not driven by our goals. Most of the time we are driven by our problems. You know, big difference between Martin Luther King when he used to say, I have what? I have a dream. Can you imagine if Martin Luther King used to say, I have a problem? Driven by his problems, he wouldn't go anywhere. Can you imagine the example Dr. Ahmed gave you? If he every day woke up and he say, I have a kidney problem, and instead of saying, I have a goal to achieve, I have a change to make, I have a point to make to myself and to the people around me. That's a big difference between us as a community who often driven by our problems and we don't focus on our goal and willing to drop them quickly. Number 2. A positive attitude toward mistakes. Children, before they go to school and they taught in school, being wrong, it means bad. They figure in their own, being wrong, it doesn't mean bad. Being wrong, it means an opportunity to learn. Being wrong, it means an experience. Being wrong, it means something I can discover, something I can change. It's an opportunity for me to grow. Very positive attitude towards mistakes in life. But often us as an adult, our mistakes are the reason for our failing. You know, success is not ever, it doesn't mean ever that you don't make a mistake. It doesn't mean that you've never been knocked down. Actually, success, it means you can stand up every time you're knocked down. Every time you make a mistake, you come back and you correct yourself. You know, our Muslim theologian talk about, العبد قبل الذنب أو بعد التوبة أيهم أعلى. You are better before you commit a sin, or you're better before you make a tawbah, repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they give the example of Adam. They said Adam, after his sin and repentance, he was higher than Adam before committing any sins. He reached higher level. He became a prophet even afterwards. So when you repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's something elevates you. Our religion teaches us to have a positive attitude toward our mistakes, and to look at them as an opportunity for us to learn and to grow. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing it because I don't have much time, and I would like actually to end my talk earlier than my time, at least for once in my life. Okay? So, number 3, I love about kids, they have they have an absolutely beautiful, pure heart. Children do not have grudges. Forgive easily in most of the time. Okay? They are transparent about their feelings. Adults should learn from children this quality. They should know how to, they should learn to deal with one another with the same level of sincerity. If you were extend an act of kindness toward the child, okay, what will happen? You will see the attitude of this child completely change tremendously. He would easily forget about whatever wrong you done to him. You know, sometimes maybe I will do something to my kids and I will say, hey, Omar, let's make a peace, or my son or my daughter, hey, let's change that, and I'm sorry. And I take him out for, a good ice cream or something like that. I'll give him a gift. He will change and he will be happy, and things are forgotten, and we move on in our relationship. But many adults, no matter what you do, if you buy them the whole chain of Baskin Robbins, okay, if you give them whatever, they will never forgive you. So many of people, adults, you do a lot of good to them in your life, and one time you make a mistake, one time you do something wrong, one time is not your day. Maybe it was not that, you did wrong to them, and it will never be forgotten. Spouses, they hold grudges toward each other. Oh, you remember, there is people, when you have your screen and you minimize the screen, okay, it's always there. One click, bring it up again. Some people like that. When they deal with you, they never close that windows. It's always there. It's always ready to pop up in the screen again. There is people like that. The moment you see him or you meet her, what's happened? Immediately your file pops up and the history. Yes, that's happening that day and that's happening, and always in the back of their heads. That's very bad. That's very wrong. We need to learn how to forgive. We need to move on in our life. I was telling a brother yesterday, talking to me about the concept of forgiveness, and he was telling me how some of his friends or some of his family member have wronged him badly. They did something so bad to him. And he said, Sheikh Walid, they did this. This is evil. This is meant to hurt me, to hurt my family. It really did. It almost broke my family. And I said, hey, when you forgive someone, do you forgive someone who have harmed you and caused wrong to you, or you forgive someone who did good to you? He said, you know what? I got it. You're right, Sheikh. Often we forget that forgiveness, it means to forgive those who have wronged you. That's what forgiveness is. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ? Don't you want Allah to forgive you? So learn how to forgive. Learn how to be willing to forgive others. Whenever you forgive people, you don't set those people free. You set your heart free. Every time you forgive someone who have wronged you, you set yourself free. You don't chain yourself to that person that you hate anymore. You just forgive him and you let it go. Number 4, ability to adjust. Children adjust quickly to the new environment, quickly to the new school, much faster than adults. They quickly adjust to the new home, to the new stage in life that they are in. This is a big challenge to so many adults today. They don't know how to adjust to the new life that they have. A lot of people cannot adjust that, my kid is not anymore elementary school kid. My kid is a high school kid. My kid is in the middle school. My kid's now in college. My kid is now married. She has her own house. She has her own life. A lot of parents cannot adjust to that. They don't know how to deal with that new change in their life. A lot of adults cannot adjust that, maybe the career that I have and I get laid off, I can't work anymore with this degree. I can't work anymore with this kind of experience. I need to adjust to the new situation that I'm in. I need to learn new tricks. I'm not too old to learn. I need to go back to school and to learn. My community is different. I can't live in the past. Things change. A lot of time we cannot adapt to the change that happened to us and we became paralyzed. I wish that we can learn from our children the ability to adjust. One of the most beautiful meanings Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah talked about when he was talking about the concept of as-sabr, being patient. He said, as-sabr, one of the meaning of as-sabr is your ability to adjust to the new situation that you're in. As-sabr is not just passive thing, doing nothing. It's your ability to adjust with the new situation that you're living in. Number 5, that's my favorite part about kids. You know what it is? What is it? It's they smile a lot. Kids, they laugh, they smile. A study shows that average kids smile 200 times a day, while an average adult smile 14 to 17 times a day. And I bet you anything, this percentage is way lower in the Muslim community. One of the common factor I found between Muslims beside La ilaha illallah, okay, that they don't smile often. Believe me, I travel the world. I travel all over the United States of America. I go to many masajid. The common look in the average Muslim face in the masjid is checking you out. It's very rare to find someone who smiles. Just genuinely smile at you, come across to you, and he give you this beautiful smile even if he doesn't know you. As if we didn't hear what the Prophet ﷺ said, تَبَسُّمُكَ فِي وَجْهِ أَخِيكَ صَدَقَةً. Your smile, it's an act of charity. As if we never heard Jabir radiallahu anhu and Aisha radiallahu anha and many companions saying, I never met the Prophet ﷺ unless I found him smiling. As if we never come across a hadith like that. As if we never come across statements like this. It's strange how many of us unfortunately became a borderline grumpy people. I think it's about time to change that. Today, earlier I said about Dallas, I have always this competition between me and Sheikh Yasser Burjas about why you should move from Dallas to Houston, okay? And why Houston is 10 reasons for you to move to Houston and all this kind of back and forth with him. That's why I always make a joke with my friends who live in Dallas. But the following point is true about Houston. We have a St. Luke hospital in Houston. And this is the first hospital in our nation, actually maybe worldwide, but in our nation, who start treating people with laughter. They start an experiment, as basically an observation that they use laughter as a form of medicine. A study shows that when you laugh a lot and you smile a lot, actually you live longer. One common factor between all those who live long life, that they laugh a lot. This brother, he said his grandma was in the hospital, and he said, hi, she's like about almost 80 years old. He said, Grandma, how are you doing? She said, I'm fine. You know, they draw some bloods, and so far they roll out pregnancy, you know. So waiting for the rest of their, she's joking. That the Spirit made her live that long life. I have in my community a brother, mashallah, he's African American brother. Beautiful brother who works in Montana in the winter in one of the resorts, skiing resorts, and in the summer comes to Houston. I said that's the wrong time to come to Houston. Anyway, mashallah, he's so active, he's so strong, look fresh. He would never say, his daughter, she's a professor in the university, in Clear Lake University. And I always tell him, mashallah, how come you so, you know, shining like that? Very fresh and strong, always walking. He said, Sheikh, you don't know? Black don't crack, you know? He said, you know. And I said, that's what it is. That's basically, that spirit that kept him strong. What I'm saying here, that studies showing that our body produce naturally a natural killer cells called NK. These are cells that are responsible for attacking all viruses and all bad cells that turn and potentially can be a cancer cells in your body. You produce that on a daily level. But alhamdulillah, you have in your system that NK cells responsible for attacking them and killing them and not make them effective. Guess what? Study shows that when you laugh a lot, these NK cells not only increased in numbers, but also became more active. You know, a lot of studies just try to Google healing through laughter. And as I said, this hospital have a leading, basically research in this area. So, hospital humor is not a joke. It's a true. It's a free medicine that Allah have given us. Use it. I will prescribe it for you, and I don't need to be a medical doctor to do so. I'll say, smile at least, 3 times a day, before meal and after meal. If you ever pass one of your friends, pass by anyone who don't have a smile on his face, give him one of yours. It's one of the most contagious things. One of the most beautiful things to have. If you ever think that you lost your smile, because I can see all the faces, but I see some people maybe looking at me in a strange look, but I'll tell you, if you think you lost your smile, it didn't go anywhere. It's under your nose. Just smile and be happy. Go home today happy.